about our school being haunted?
Yes, I've heard many stories about the school being haunted.
I have heard that the stories that the school is haunted.
I've heard stories.
I did hear that the school was haunted.
I have heard stories of our school being haunted.
I have heard about the school being haunted.
I have only heard about our school being haunted through my daughter.
5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade girls, and they have reported that our gym is actually haunted.
I heard one about the gym.
Most of the activity is centered in the girls' locker room in the gym.
I haven't really been in the gym when it's dark, but it's freaky when it's dark.
It's always in the dark, always. It's scary if you're here by yourself in the dark. I don't know that I've heard anything since the windows were put in. I think it's because there's more light.
If you ask an adult that used to play basketball and stuff here, they said every now and then if you came here and practiced by yourself and you came and you're turning on the lights, well, when you open the door and you start walking, you can hear people bouncing the balls and there's nobody in there.
Didn't somebody say one time that they came in here and that they heard the locker slamming in the junior high?
We didn't really enjoy it. We're up here one night by ourselves and we could hear things and noises in the gym. People shutting the lockers and stuff.
Yeah, I heard shoes squeaking one night.
The janitors tell stories about how they have to turn the music way up high because they can hear voices and stuff.
When the janitors are cleaning, they have to put the music so high, so loud, so they don't hear the spirits and ghosts.
You can ask them. They have stereos on their little janitor thing cart, and they'll tell you that they have them on at all times.
Janitors have a radio on, real loud to drown out some of the noises that they've heard in there.
Custodian who was an African American custodian, and she worked here for many years, and then she did pass away, and that she still is here keeping the halls of our schools clean. The other ones have been about her seeing the spirits of former students and teachers and principals here.
There used to be a janitor that worked in the building that you all call the technology building, but she refused to work in that building after school very late, or especially when it got dark.
She wouldn't stay in that building after everybody else left. She wouldn't stay in there by herself because she said there was haints. That's what she called the ghosts, was haints. So
Haints? Haunts? Ghosts? And she says, yeah, she swore there were ghosts there.
I've been in the technology building when sometimes you think you're hearing sounds when you're there by yourself of an afternoon or evening. And you kind of look around and think about it a little bit.
When we were walking home, we were walking in front of the school. He was like, no, let's go walk through the back. And I was like, no, let's just walk through the front. It's easier. So we're walking through the front and we get in front of the technology building. And he was like, look at those lights. They're flickering on and off. So we go up to the door just to see if anyone's in there. No one was in there and the lights were turned on. So then we walk back down and we're walking down the sidewalk going to my house. And so he turns back, he was like, no, Kristen, they're flickering on and off. I was like, no, they're not. So we go back over there, and he goes up to one of the windows, and he knocks on it, and then the lights just flicker on and off again, and then we took off to my house.
Several times throughout the years, as I've been here for a long time, I would need to be here late. And I would see lights on in that building. And I'm going, well, that's weird. Somebody forgot to turn out the lights. And then I would come to find out, no, they turned off the lights. And supposedly that's happened many times where they know they've turned off the lights and they're back on.
So just when you're by yourself, you kind of look over your shoulder sometime.
I've heard people claiming they hear music in the auditorium and then look inside and nobody's in there.
Supposedly an old band director that had a car accident.
Him and his wife were driving to Lubbock, and they got in a car accident, and they say that you can still hear him leading his band. When you're out there at night, you can still hear them playing their instruments and all that.
In the auditorium for band, and we started seeing this light on the wall, and we thought it was a ghost just making fun and stuff. And so they tried to get me to tell the story, and so I started telling the story. And so as I was telling the story, the light started like moving and freaking out, and then it moved to a chair in the very back corner, and it started moving the chair.
When we were practicing band in the auditorium, the chairs would, like, we could hear noises, and the chairs would make squeaking noises, and they would change from like being up and down.
What's that one
At the auditorium?
about the chairs moving?
In the auditorium?
The chair?
In the auditorium?
Yes, in the auditorium.
Yeah, Odie was terrified of the band hall. He wouldn't even be by the, I mean, he'd walk around it, but he wouldn't be like right beside it the whole time. He'd leave. If you saw him in the morning, he'd walk around. He'd come all the way over here and walk all the way around.
Or he comes from the back and goes all the way around the field house and then comes from
Odie was